Tom Billington, nice to meet you.
How you doing? Good to meet you.
Very good to have you on board for this very quick promo cast we're going to do ahead of the podcast show 2023. Before we hit the record button, we were discussing what is this about, and it's essentially first time meeting you, so it's an absolute pleasure to chat with you. I know a few members of the team, the podcast show, have been doing an amazing job. Alex Boot in particular, who I got to know over the last year or so. And essentially just wanted to have a chat about yourself and hear from the horse's mouth about the podcast show 2023. What is it all about and what's going to happen next week, the Wednesday and Thursday in London?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. It's great to talk to you. We can't wait to welcome you to the event. We are a few days away. We are deep in the planning. We are so excited to what we've got and where we're at with it at this stage. You know, this is year 2. It's all about bringing the world of podcasting together in London and all under one roof, you know, like never before. We've grown massively. We did it for the first time last year, but the kind of ambition and drive that we've had to improve on what we did has really spurred us on, and we feel like we're in a good position. I mean, what can you expect from the show? Well, it's the biggest brands and the best creators and everyone that's involved in the industry coming together to share their knowledge and share their inspiration of what's going on, share their product. It's about doing business, meeting those peers and new connections. When you walk into the room, you will see everyone, you know, from the world of podcasting coming together, some exhibiting, many networking, and then there's a big daytime schedule of panels and talks and masterclasses as well. So it's 2 days, which are 2 full days, but we've also got a preview night this year as well, which is on Tuesday, the 23rd of May. And what that is, it's the opportunity to a very casual kind of look around the show. The room will be set and dressed. You get a nice glass of wine, and it's kind of just an easy way in for people to see what's going on at the show before the madness of the next 2 days. We've got a few things going on that opening night as well, where Fern Cotton, presenter of Happy Place podcast, is going to be talking about how she built that brand and turned it in not just to a podcast but also an app and a festival. We're going to be giving out our Trailblazer Award, which is the first time we've done that as well, which is recognizing someone on the global stage of podcasting and giving them awards, kind of a nod to what they've done in terms of impact. And that's going to Ashley Flowers, the presenter of the Crime Junkie podcast as well. So we're going to give that out, and then we're going to meet our advisory board as well, which is something that we've done for the first time this year as well, and that's 10 names from across the global industry. It's kind of big agents like Oren Rosenbaum, or people that have set up production companies like Jenna Weiss Berman, who set up Pineapple Street Studios, or Jez Nelson from Sony, or people from Acast and Amazon as well. And that was an advisory board that we set up just to hold us to account, really, in terms of where we're going with the show. So yeah, there's a lot going on before we get even into the main show, but that's where we are at the minute.
Very exciting, and I'll be there Tuesday evening myself, getting the last bits on our stand. We're exhibiting this year, which I'm extremely excited about. It was a huge thing for me last year. As I said, I was at the show, the first show you ever held. I was blown away by it. I said, this is incredible. It was huge for me because I'm in the podcast industry, to be specific, the social audio industry, for coming up 8 years now. And I've been telling people, predicting, say, guys, podcasts are going to explode, get involved. And when I started the journey, people were like, what's a podcast? So to go to an organization or an event like yours and meet people who you don't have to explain what podcasts are and the power of podcasting was an absolute pleasure. And as you said, the best in the business are there, the biggest names, the biggest brands. You know, you've got your BBC Sounds, your Acast, your Spotify's across the board. It was a mecca, for a better word, of podcasting. And I said it was a goal and a mission of a startup business. But for me, my goal for this year was to exhibit at the show.
Amazing.
To
Right.
be there is a huge thing for myself and the team. A few of us are going to come over, get to meet you guys. Like as you are evolving, one thing I want to touch on very quickly as well is the story, because I always tell people what's so powerful about podcasting is essentially people telling their stories.
Yeah.
And the podcast show, you individually have a story, no doubt, within the podcast show itself, but the podcast show, where did it come from? What was the genesis? Up with the idea, and how did you end up putting together such a fantastic event?
Yeah, it's a good question. So there's two festival directors. There's Jason Carter and Tim Etchells, and they come from. So Jason worked at the BBC for a number of years, and he was the head of the events department at the BBC and BBC Radio in particular. So he set up things like the Radio 1's Big Weekend, Radio 2, Big Show 6 Music Live, and the 6 Music Festival, the Teen Awards at Radio 1, things like that. Tim Etchells has got a rich history in doing a lot of trade shows and art fairs around the world. So he would license things from the BBC like Top Gear Live and big corporate industry events as well. And so it was those two that had the initial idea, really. And it stemmed from just seeing a gap in the market, really, of what was going on with podcasting. But there was an event called BBC Introducing Live. And that was it was a new music festival where some of the brands that have now, obviously there's a lot of synergy between the music brands like Spotify, for example, who are now moved into the podcasting game. And it was right at the beginning of Spotify as a brand thinking about moving into audio and podcasting as well as music. And it was the spotting that opportunity that the Introducing Live event that was run, the early genesis of what the podcast show is today. And so it was quite a small leap, kind of taking that idea of what we were doing for music and moving it into the podcast space. So that's where the idea came from. And that was 2019. And then the first podcast show was meant to happen in 2021, but because of everything that happened with the pandemic, it got delayed. But in that time, obviously podcasting blew up during the pandemic and a lot more interest in it, and then the industry naturally grew. And so the interest around the event, in a stroke of luck, really grew through the pandemic as the show itself moved back as well. And then we had a bit of a sweet spot in terms of, it was May last year was the first event, as I said. And so the majority of the world was just coming out of lockdown as well. And so there was a lot of desire for people to come together, particularly within the industry that had got into it during the pandemic, and meet people for the first time. So when it ran in May last year, there was, we felt really lucky because it was people coming together for the first time in a long time and wanting to meet and network and do business. And that kind of coupled with a strong event that we pulled together has allowed us to it's moved us on and feel more established perhaps than what the event is, because we're only in year 2. But because of the growth of the industry, having the right event and right vision for it at the right time, that's it's kicked us on really well, and long may it continue, hopefully.
Most definitely. And that's I need to echo that sentiment in terms of the people. I was the same, wanting to get there, meet people, get in front, show them the product, get to people, get to build relationships. And the feeling of it was more like a music festival. It's funny you mentioned that. Everyone was really positive, wanting to help one another. And that's in general something that is fantastic about podcasting, is it's mutually beneficial for the host and the guest. That's what's great about it. And that was the atmosphere I got, and people were very helpful. I got some great leads and networking done last year, and had, off the back of that, being out and about, especially at the podcast show, helped us evolve our own product and what we're doing. And we've developed Limor Enterprise, which is our B2B offering, our content management system, and linked interactive podcasting. We're very unique. And to my knowledge, there's no one does what we do in the space as of yet. So I cannot wait to get to meet yourself, hopefully record a cast in person on Limor. and put it out there and meet all those other businesses as well. So we are exhibiting, just for anyone listening, we are stand K11. We'll be there on both days. And if you'd like to come and meet us, please do. If anyone is listening to this and they want to grab a ticket or find out more, Tom, or get in touch with you, how do they do so?
The podcast show London. Go there, just search that, you'll find everything. I mean, tickets, the other thing about it is we wanted to make it as accessible as possible for everyone in the industry. We are lucky within the podcasting industry to have such a rich creator community, as well as all the big corporations and fantastic industry and infrastructure that's built around it. It's the lifeblood is the creators and those independent freelancers that are just working so hard and creating amazing things. So we've always made sure that the price point, if you're 30, lucky enough to be under 30, the tickets are £30. Tickets right now are £69 for one day, £127 for 2 days, and that price goes up on the door as well. So if you are planning on coming down, which I really hope that you are, if you're in podcasting, you definitely should be, if you can make it to London for a couple of days on the 24th and 25th of May. That price point is kind of as low as we possibly can make it, and there's so much value that you're going to get out of it. And just one point on what you were saying there about the networking, that side of the event is so important as well. So there's many networking opportunities and receptions that we've set up, like with Tortoise Media or the Radio Academy or talent agencies like WME or Sky News are going to be there as well, broadcasting live. There's so much more going on within the event that if you want to, whatever stage you are in the industry, if you want to meet your peers or get a new lead as you did and build your business, then this is the place for you. Hope to see you down there next week.
Most definitely. And before I finish, wrap up this quick cast, just about podcasting in general and the voice economy, everything to do with audio, it's only getting started. I know it's been there a long time, but we're in the industry day to day. I can hear the passion in your voice about what you do, because it's so exciting. It is about to explode, but the fuse has just been lit. Like the rocket or the big barrel of TNT hasn't exploded yet. It is going to. So if you want to be part of that explosion and journey, get to the podcast show and get the wheels in motion, because voice is the future. Podcasting is the easiest and best way to get involved in that industry. So Tom, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure. I can't wait to meet you in person and continue this chat on the Limor, creating some social audio.
Amazing. Good to speak to you.
Thanks a million.